This is Bud Brown. I'm living here in Dumaguete City, Philippines. Been here about around 12 years or so. Well, I've been in Dumaguete about 8, 9 years, and Cebu Island about 3 years. But regardless, here in the Philippines, the main thing I wanted to say in this video is if there's one thing you do not want to do in the Philippines, it's the following. In different cultures, including the American culture, of course, from which I was born and raised, some things are not so bad. Of course, every country, things are bad. Murder, pillage, stealing, those kind of things are obviously not good and are against the law. But there's some things here in the Philippines that if you do it, and it may not seem that big of a deal to us, but it's a big deal here. And I'm going to just say something a little bit ambiguous, but they have what they call here jungle justice. You may win the battle, but you're going to lose the war. And before I get specific on what that one thing is, I'm going to give you a little story that recently happened to me. Tell you a little story that recently happened to me where I almost crossed the line. Coming back from my brother's house in Mindanao, it was a great trip, perfect. When I got back to my, and I did a smart thing for once. I had booked an Airbnb before the flight because the flight was early in Cebu, 6 hours away by bus. And I booked made the same reservation for when I got back, which would be on a Friday night I was going to spend. So for once, I did the smart thing, and I didn't rush myself at the beginning of the trip or at the end of the trip. So that was a kudos to me for that. But here comes the rub. I didn't realize this, but it makes sense. On some hotels, maybe all, I don't know, they want a deposit. So when you leave, that you don't leave a big mess, and they have to charge extra. So I was getting ready to spend the first night, and he said we need a 200 peso deposit, which is just about $4 minimum. And I said, okay. So I look in my wallet, I pull out a 500 peso bill, which is about $10. And I said, and he said, which is also common, we don't have any change. Do you have 200 pesos? So I said, don't worry about it. I'm going to come back Friday evening, Saturday morning, and I can just get the whole 500 pesos back at that time. Don't worry about it, because I'm going to get up and get going early in the morning. So I said, okay. Well, the trip went fine. I came back, and here's a little clip of how I felt, and when I got back and I was waiting for them to give me my deposit. Well, I'll just tell you. There was a different lady on shift there, and she started to give me, she said, here's your deposit, started to give me 200 pesos. I said, no, it's 500. She said, no, deposit's always 200. So, explanation. Look, I gave 5, no change, keep the 5, I return, give me my 5 back. Oh, she said, no record of that. I thought, why don't I get a receipt or something? That's something else I need to learn. So who was it? Well, it was a young man, blah, 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 what shift, it was what day, what night, what time, this and that. They said, we're going to call him. Okay, good. Call him and he'll verify it. So he came, and this is where I have the clip where I'm waiting for him to show up. He does show up. Well, it was almost a 100% perfect trip. But now, got a snag. This is Saturday morning. I slept the night here and getting ready to go take a taxi to the bus and then take a bus all the way to Dumaguete. But when I came to collect my deposit, there was a problem. When I was here Monday, he said it's a 200 peso deposit, so I had a 500 peso bill. So he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir, we don't have any change." So being the trusting person I am, I said, "That's okay. I'm gonna come back Friday, and then you can give me my deposit or give me the whole thing, 500 pesos back on Friday or when I leave Saturday," which is right now. Oh, no record of that 500. So they called, the fellow wasn't here, but they called him to come down here, get it straightened out. So should have got a receipt. That was my mistake. I will see.
Excuse me, sir.
Okay na ba?
Give me first 500.
So, this fella named Darwin, he showed up, and I knew that he was going to verify my story. So I said, "Hi, Darwin, you remember me?" "Yes, I remember you." "Well, they're trying to say that there was no record of that 500 that I left you." "No, you left me 200. That was your deposit, 200. Take a deep breath, Mr. B. So I tried to explain again. "Remember, you said 2, I had 5, you had no change, I gave you 2, I left a 5, I was going to pick it up today." He said, "Well, I remember you gave me 5, I didn't have the change, and then I asked if you had 2. You reached in your wallet and you pulled out 2, and then I recorded it as you giving me 200 pesos deposit." I'm saying to myself, I'm thinking to myself, look, don't make a big deal. I'm losing 300 pesos, $6. Is it worth it? You know, really? Is it worth it to win the battle but lose the war? No, it's not. So even though you could tell the frustration on my face in that last clip, I resigned myself to, okay, lesson learned, always get a receipt. So, okay, thank you. They gave me my 200 peso deposit back. I left. And when I got home, I said to myself, wait a minute. I was wearing a chest cam when I pulled up, and during that whole transaction, I was videotaping. All right. So now, if for no other reason, I'm going to prove it to myself that I'm not crazy. So, ladies and gentlemen, I offer my video evidence, Your Honor. Reception. Okay.
Do you have reservation, sir?
Yes. Here's my today, and I leave tomorrow.
It's only for 1 night.
Yeah, and then pumunta ko sa Butuan. Pagbalik ako, one more night dito.
Balik ka dire.
Oo.
You can't try to take with you.
Yeah. Yeah. So pag mali, well, So pag mali, well, I have to leave early, huh? Kailan ko umalis maaga? I have to leave early, huh? Kailan ko umalis maaga? Oops. Video evidence is right. Obviously, I did give him the 200 pesos. It was right there. Oh, can you imagine if I would have lost my cool, broke my own rules about not losing a temper? What a mess. So, I don't know what happened. He did say that I offered him 5 and then, you know, he didn't have change. That part is where we agreed upon. But for some reason, that's the part I stuck with. Where in reality, evidently, I put the 5 back in my wallet and I gave him 2. So, apologies in order. And I've known this for a while, but sometimes it's easier said than done. Don't lose your temper, don't get upset, and don't embarrass the Filipinos, because you may think that you've won, but actually you've lost. And this may be hard to believe, but you can get kicked out, blacklisted for misbehaving towards Filipinos, and that's what they would consider misbehaving. So, all's well that ends well. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.